Hi there, it's Lisa Colon DeLay. I'm back again to talk a little bit about Eastern Orthodox Christianity and Oriental Orthodox Christianity. What's that? What's the difference? Well, first, it's good to talk about how in the West, I'm in the United States of America, but a lot of countries that have come from the development of Christianity over the years, we've shifted to a very individualistic way of understanding salvation and how Christianity works and even how community works. We center it around ourselves and our own sort of personal ambitions. But Christianity is an Eastern religion. It began in the East, and it has Eastern ways of thinking. Jewish ways of thinking are Eastern ways of thinking, and it has more to do with seeing the whole picture. Everything is spiritual. There isn't this part that you add to your life that's spiritual, and then you go on your way. When I began writing this book, I didn't really have the benefit of understanding what that distinction was, but there is quite a distinction, and my friend who really helped advise me on this, Phoebe Farag Michiel, is a Coptic Christian, an Egyptian Christian, and they date the beginnings of what they have in Christianity from 40 AD, 40 CE, with Mark the Apostle founding their church. That's about as far back as you can go. So their tradition is very rich, very original, and what I wrote in the acknowledgments, I wanted people to understand the difference between Eastern Christianity and Oriental Christianity. Both are Orthodox, both are true, and the Orthodox means the straight way. It's kind of hearkening back to this original Christianity. Now, in the West, as things have developed and as there's been off-splits from Roman Catholicism, obviously based in Rome, where the Pope is in charge. And then we have, much later, the Protestant Reformation, which is an offshoot, a split-off from Roman Catholicism. It's not a split-off from Eastern Christianity or Eastern Orthodox or Oriental Orthodox. They're much further back. We're talking 400s after Christ, 400 years after Christ, around that era. So I just wanted to read a little from my acknowledgments, where I thank Phoebe, good friend of mine, and so helpful to understand more about the origins of Christianity and how people actually originally thought instead of what we've come to think of. Some of it remains the same, but some of it's really shifted and become much more individualistic. So, for instance, when Paul writes, and he uses the word you, it's often translated and understood you as a singular, but Paul is always talking you plural. He's talking to a community. He's talking to a community and a world God has saved. It's not about individual salvation in a sense. It's much richer, much broader than that. Page 217, I write a note on distinctions within Christian orthodoxy. Writer Phoebe Farag Michiel, a Coptic Orthodox Christian, helped me better understand some essential distinctions of Eastern Orthodox and Oriental Orthodox Christians that have ethnic, racial, and doctrinal components. So I paraphrase her input after this. The Eastern Orthodox Christians are predominantly people with light skin color. Eastern European, Greek, Russian, Ukrainian, Serbian, Romanian, etc. And that exists in the East. But we also have Oriental Orthodox Christians. And she writes, perhaps the only exception is Antiochans. This is going way back to the 400s. So Oriental Orthodox Christians are predominantly people with dark skin color. And sometimes this creates a tension between Eastern and Oriental. There's sometimes racial and ethnic prejudice that happens. And there have been these undertones and prejudices throughout the years. So let's just remember that Oriental Orthodox, that church, is a very early branch of Christianity. It links itself to the Apostle Paul in 40 AD. It includes several churches, such as the Coptics, which are Egyptian, Ethiopian, Armenian, Syrian, Indian, Eritrean. And these churches do not accept the determinations of the Council of Chalcedon in the 5th century. So once again, we're going that far back to the 400s. There was a split that happened there. And But I think it's important to know the origins of the church. It began as a community of faith following Jesus, but primarily among dark-skinned people. And from there, it carried on to the rest of the world, slowly moving westward. But this is why it's interesting, informative, and helpful to learn about these earliest Christians, the ones in the first 400 or 500 years. Read their original works as they're translated, understand where they came from. They have very different views about sin, such as there is no original sin, there is only original blessing. That's a original thought of the church, and a debated one, certainly, but that's where it's coming from. And obviously a more holistic and more communal way of understanding our faith and our relationships. So I hope that helps, just a little tidbit. Please get the book at tiny.cc/elders and let the mothers and fathers of these earliest years of Christianity speak to you in your condition, in your situation today. They have so much to share and so much blessing for us.